Hello friends, my name is Sarah. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be my Q&A video for hitting 4,000 subscribers. What? That's so crazy. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed. If you're new around here, I do all sorts of knitting and art videos. You can find all the links to all the places you can find me, including my Ko-Fi in case you want to buy me a cup of tea, because I don't really drink coffee. So yes, all these questions were submitted to me here on the community page and then also in a little question box on Instagram. Without further ado, let's dive in. I have all of them written here. I'm thinking we're going to start off with knitting questions. There's quite a few knitting ones. And then we'll kind of go into like businessy type questions and then into just a couple of personal like questions. But while I'm answering questions, I figured I would sit and knit because why not? So I'm knitting on my Hawkins socks. I'm currently hosting a very, very casual knit along for DK and worsted weight socks. So yeah, you can use the hashtag autumn sock cal, K-A-L, to join. There are no prizes. There's nothing schmancy about it. It's just like, let's all knit some worsted and DK weight socks together. So yeah, I'm using Botanical yarn. This is the flock fiber colorway. Fangirl fiber is just a bright neon-y pink, and Coats & Co. at a color, again, there was no name for these two minis that I got, but yeah, those are the companies they're from. Again, using my pattern, the Hawkins socks, which is the pattern was written using Lion Brand woolies, but you can use any yarn that you get gauge with. So I tinkered around and got gauge with this hand-dyed DK weight yarn. The first question is how I got into knitting / how long have I been knitting? This isn't part of the question, but I actually started crocheting first before I started knitting. I started crocheting when I was a child, probably around like 8 or 10, something like that. My mom taught me, and I was very much a process crocheter. I just liked crocheting. I didn't ever make anything. I remember once I took a ball of yarn and my crochet hook to my grandparents' house. We were staying there for the weekend, and I remember just crocheting this long chain. It was so long. And my grandma asked me what I was making, and I told her I was just going to see how long I can make this chain. Eventually, though, as I got a little bit older, in my teens, I started making some hats. I made like berets. Those were kind of a thing at the time. And a few other type of hats. But then, like, once I kind of moved out of the house, I kind of like had a little bit more free time, so I kind of like filled that time with some crochet. I made a blanket, and actually before my husband and I got married, I made him an enormous blanket that was shaped like this. And when we got married, I was like, why do you still have this? And he's like, because you made it for me. I was like, great, can we please get rid of it? It's so bad. He's like, that's okay, I never use it. I was like, what word? Of course you never use it, because it's shaped like this. How I didn't notice, I don't know. Apparently I was just going and going and going, and then when I gifted it to him, I was like, it's crooked, and he's like, it doesn't matter, but then he never used it. So then from there, I kind of made a bunch of bear hoods and what have you for my daughter, and started crocheting a lot more, and then started crocheting garments, but then really wanted to knit. I tried knitting once when I was younger, maybe like 17 or 18, and I hated its guts. I knit continental, but I was taught how to knit English, and I just couldn't wrap my brain around holding yarn in my right hand when I've always held yarn for crochet in my left hand, and I just couldn't get it to work. So I gave up. I was like, this is not for me. I don't like crochet. I don't like knitting. I'm sticking to crochet. Well, then 2016 is when I decided to pick up needles again. I started out with the bulky project you could ever imagine. If you're a new knitter, don't do that. I'm just going to tell you now, don't start with a bulky project. Start with like something like Erin or worsted maybe, but not super bulky. It's not fun, I promise you. But from there, I caught on and just fell in love with it. So I've been knitting for 7 years now. So I really enjoy it. It's my favorite, and it's a lot easier on my hands than crochet is. So yeah, it is my favorite thing. I have been asked how I store my knits, if I put them on shelves, if I hang them, or if I put them in bins. So first, it's not ideal to hang your knits just because it can stretch out the stitches. Now, I do actually have one or two of my knits on hangers, but they're made of like an acrylic yarn, and it's like a more dense fabric, so I'm not too worried about it stretching out. Plus, I wear them quite often, so they're always coming off the hangers. But I wouldn't recommend hanging your garments. Most of my knits live on a shelf in my closet along with some drawers. So folding is ideal. So that's what I do with most of it. When it's out of season, they still remain on the shelves because our house isn't the biggest place in the world, so I don't have a whole lot of space to put them in bins and then put the bins anywhere. And honestly, the only other place I could put the bins is in my attic, and I'd rather actually have them open on a shelf in my room where I can keep an eye on them. I do store them with like sachets of lavender and then a couple chunks of cedar to deter any moths. I've never had a problem with moths thus far, knock on wood, but yeah, just shelves and drawers. My hats and socks get hucked into drawers. I'm not super precious about it. If something happens to them, then something happens, and oh darn, I have to knit something new. Somebody else has asked, how often should you wash your knits? That's a great question, and there's no real good answer to that. It depends fully on the garment, the fiber it's knit out of, and how often you wear it and how you wear it. So say I have my acrylic sweaters that I wear out and I get a little hot in it. They tend to trap the smells and the heat a bit more, so those get washed almost every time I wear them. Sometimes every other if I'm like wearing it a little bit more gently. Then my wool sweaters I only wash every great now and then, and that's like if I spill something on it or it's needing a washing. Otherwise, socks, those I wash every time because I have this thing about feet, and like wearing socks more than twice kind of grosses me out. I know some people wear their like socks lots of times before they wash them. I can't do that. Now I will do that with my like slipper socks, but a lot of times I'm wearing socks inside of the socks, so I don't feel like it's as gross because my feet aren't touching them. I know, call me crazy. Hats maybe once a year, or if I've like worn a lot of makeup or gotten sweaty in it, then I'll wash it. But really it depends on just how you're wearing your garments. Like sometimes I spill something on it and I need to wash it more often, but wash it however many times you feel is necessary. There's no real right or wrong way. I mean, if you've got like 100% wool sweaters, I would obviously hand wash. Like even the superwash ones, I would probably hand wash just so they last a little longer. My acrylic ones, again, not precious about, so they just get hucked in the washer and the dryer and they do just fine. Same with my cotton ones. Those ones get right in the washer and the dryer. One question is what my favorite big box store yarn is. So if we're talking like big box stores like, you know, Walmart, Michael's, Joann, that type of thing, I would probably say I really love Lion Brand Wool Ease. It's just a really great versatile yarn. I've made sweaters, hats, socks, mittens, you name it, I've probably made it. It has an okay color range. It's not my favorite. It doesn't have my favorite colors, but it has a good neutral base. So yeah, it's probably my all-around go-to favorite big box store yarn. Now, if we're talking favorite commercial yarn, I would say maybe drops. I'm starting to really love drops yarn. I've worked with quite a few of their varying lines before, and I really like them. I've done the Flora. I've tried the alpaca silk. There's a couple of others that I'm totally drawing a blank on, but I really like the drops yarn. Then I was asked what my favorite overall yarn is to work with, and probably just a superwash wool. I really like the way it feels. I like the way it knits up, but I also have started to really like just 100% wools. I like the fabric it comes up with. I don't know. It also just depends on what I'm making, because my favorite fiber changes for each project. Like, I really like working with cotton. I don't know. Overall, though, probably just a good old superwash merino wool, because it probably has the most versatility compared to the other ones. I don't know. I have a lot of favorites. This is a good question. I was asked what my long-term knitting goals or dreams are. So I don't have I don't know, that's kind of, I don't know, in my mind slightly vague. But I'd say when I think about knitting goals, I think of my wardrobe. Now as far as learning techniques or whatever, I don't really have any sort of goals or dreams or anything that's my Mount Everest that I think I want to tackle. I mean, maybe an all over cable sweater, which it doesn't seem that unachievable to me. It's just something I haven't felt the huge desire to cast on yet. But as far as my wardrobe goes, my long-term goals and dreams is to just have a good base collection of garments that I really enjoy wearing. I feel like as a knitter, we kind of go through this wave of learning how to knit, and then we get excited and we see all these pretty things and we want to cast them on and we make them. But then going into that, we kind of learn what colors, shapes, types of garments and stuff we prefer, and which ones we actually wear and don't wear. So my goal is to have a wardrobe full of garments that I wear and enjoy and actually fit into my closet, because I've made a lot of things that I like and I think are pretty, but they don't have a place in my wardrobe. It doesn't fit with certain outfits, or maybe I think it's really beautiful, but I wouldn't actually wear it, or I'd wear it with that one outfit. I want everything I make to fit in multiple places, in multiple outfits, through multiple seasons even. So that's kind of my long-term goal with my knitting. I want it to make sense. I mean, as I go, I'm sure there'll be things garments I'll cull from my closet and kind of move towards different styles or whatever. And because I feel like a lot of people, myself especially, our styles evolve and they change over the years. Mine definitely has changed. I do tend to like the more now and trendy outfits. It takes me a little bit to warm up to it, and then once I get used to an idea, I kind of like it. But I mean, not too trendy. I don't get into the super trends. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, then I don't do it. But I like staying current, I guess. I'm not afraid of trying new things in my wardrobe, but I also like good, classic, solid pieces. So yeah, that's my overall goal, is to have a good, wearable, curated closet. This question kind of leads in a little bit to businessy questions. I was asked what my favorite type of yarn was to dye. If you don't know, I used to dye yarn back in 2018 and 19. I liked it. It was a lot of fun. I loved playing with the color. I liked coming up with colorways. I felt like I was pretty okay at it and probably could have gotten really good at it, but honestly, it just didn't fit in with our lifestyle, because we don't have a separate space for me to dye yarn, and with kids and a small kitchen, it kind of didn't make sense. So I used to dye yarn for a little while, but my favorite was like a DK or worsted weight superwash. It just took the speckly bits like so beautifully, and I don't know, it was like the easiest and the most fun to dye at the time. I mean, I'm sure like as I learned, I probably would have found other ones that I liked, but I really enjoyed like the superwash DK. How did I start selling? So I started my business back in 2015. I had my daughter, and I started making her like little crochet things like bear hoods, and I had a bunch of people telling me, you should sell these, you should sell these. So I started an Etsy, and it was so beyond slow. It was like one of those things where it's like you start it and you think, I'm gonna make all this money, and I made no money. But to be fair, like it was new. I didn't do marketing very well. I like my photos were pretty decent because I mean was a photographer before like having this business, like which before like my business that I have now started, I had a photography thing on the side, so always kind of had some sort of thing going. But then from there, it did eventually pick up a bit, and I started crocheting a lot of bear hoods and bear bonnets, and it actually was taking a toll on my wrists. I would have to take long breaks from doing it. And yeah, so I kind of stopped doing that and then started to make knitting and crochet patterns. And then from there, I started making my stitch markers, and then my other art and stuff. So yeah, it's kind of slowly evolved, but I've had my business since 2015 with bear hoods and crocheting items, which I feel like is how a lot of knitters kind of start out. Not everybody. Some people are smart and just keep it as their hobby. Then there's a few of us who decide to turn it into our businesses, like crazy people. I was also asked like where I find my inspiration in like my designing, and that kind of comes from all over the place. So my initial inspiration for like making stitch markers was I didn't really have money to spend on all the pretty fancy ones that were out there, and I didn't find ones that I liked as much, because a lot of the like floral resin stitch markers that were out there, they had the shapes that I liked, but they didn't have the insides that I liked. They would have glitter or bright colors, and I'm not really too much of a bright color person, despite what my socks that I'm currently knitting on are telling you. So I wanted like a more muted and calmer, like just nature based kind of like look to them. So that's where I kind of found that inspiration, was just kind of making something that I couldn't find that I wanted. So that's where I started making those markers, and then from there, like my inspiration for the like sheep markers, like those came from my sheep paintings, and then I created a mold for those, and then from there it just kind of like builds, and then you kind of find inspiration in everything. A lot of my like colors or themes or whatever, like an idea will just pop into my head. Like I'll see something and I'll be like, I want to do like a collection around that, like an upcoming collection. I saw like just this color with another color, and then I was like, it reminded me of a postcard. I was like, oh, a postcard theme. And then from there it's kind of grown. We'll see more about that later, but it's like the ideas just kind of evolve and they change, and I get more and more excited about them, sometimes get a little carried away. But usually it's by thinking or seeing something, and then it kind of grows and expands beyond that. What is my least favorite thing to make? Mushroom markers. I hate them so very much. They're such a process. I don't enjoy them. I like the way they look, and I think they're absolutely gorgeous, but they're kind of a pain in the butt. So it's a little mold, you know, and it has like the stem and then the top the cap of the mushroom. So the stem I have to pour first, and then I have to let it cure, like, but not all the way. I have to keep an eye on it, because if I let it cure all the way, then when I pour the cap, it has like this harsh line. But if I pour the cap while the bottom resin isn't cured cured at all, then like the cap color will just pour down into the stem, and then it's just, there's no defined areas. So if I wait to a certain point where it's just starting to cure, it's like partially cured, some of that like cap resin will come down in and just like kind of fade a little bit, which I really like. So it starts there with having to just keep an eye on the resin and pour it like at the perfect timing, which doesn't always happen. And sometimes it works out and I'm like, oh, I still like it even though it's cured more or it's dipping down in a little bit further. But then once I demold it, I then have to sand the cap portion of it. And then once I've sanded it, I have to then coat the caps in more resin. And then I have to drill little itty bitty holes and then put these little teeny little screw findings in the top of them. So I don't like doing mushrooms. So I usually have a lot less of those than I do like sheep or any other kinds. I was asked how I got into art. I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know. I've always been into art. Since I was young, I used to get like craft stuff and art supplies as a child. And I've just always been drawing and painting. Like, I can't think of a time where I wasn't drawing or painting. Like, I've gone through phases of painting or drawing less and then a lot more. Like right now I'm in a phase of not really painting a whole lot just because I just don't have the time at the moment. But yeah, I've always been into art. Do I have other hobbies? Yes, I do. Besides knitting, I have crocheting. I paint, draw, sketch, all the different art mediums. I don't know, can you consider TV watching a hobby? We really like to watch shows. I like reading, but I don't read very often. I actually listen to my books just because it's easier for me in our lifestyle. What else? Oh, gardening. I love gardening so very much. It makes my heart very, very happy. We are at the current phase of having to rip everything out, which is not my favorite part of gardening, but I do really like gardening. Okay, this question is really fun and kind of hard. I was asked what other YouTubers I like to watch. So I'm going to give you a small-ish list of my favorite knitting YouTubes that I watch. This is just a small, again, list. I have quite a few that I like. I go through phases with my watching knitting YouTubers. Sometimes, like, I'll watch certain people, like, every time they put out a video, I'm there and I've watched it. And then there'll be other times where I forget about somebody for a little while because they don't pop up in my main feed, and then I go back and I'm like, oh, they have a whole bunch of videos, and I binge watch them. That or I just go through phases where I don't watch any YouTube videos and we're just watching shows or whatever in the evenings. Because I have a tendency to usually watch YouTube channels when I'm cooking or when my husband is playing video games. So here are some of the ones that are my favorites. I really like Inga of Knitting Traditions. She has so many amazing things that she makes. She's a very prolific knitter, and they're all like gorgeous makes, and they're like a lot of unique things that you don't typically see. Like, she will knit, you know, the petite knit patterns or this pattern from this popular designer or whatever, but she also will knit a lot of like really cool traditional Norwegian patterns and other things. So love Inga. I also really like Laura Penrose. Her videos are really fun to watch. She does her knitting videos, but then she also does a lot of lifestyle vlogs, which I really enjoy. I do my like monthly lifestyle vlogs, which are a lot of fun to put out, but I really like watching hers. They're just beautiful. She has a stunning house, and like she has like a really like pretty like put together wardrobe. I know she likes to say otherwise, but I just love all of her content. It's really beautiful and well done. A newer to me YouTuber that I've been really enjoying, and I've watched a whole bunch of back videos and stuff, is String Things by Mel. I love her. She just seems so sweet and kind, and she is the cutest little girl ever. And I love the things she makes. She does these really cool like videos where she takes garments that she's made and does performance reviews on them, which I really enjoy and like to see how things hold up over time. I love Kendra of Balanced Skein. She does these really great videos where she'll like work on a project and she'll record the start to finish, and so you get to kind of watch her like go through the whole thing. And I really like, it's kind of funny because when I watch her talk about how she likes certain things to fit, I'm like, me too. Oh yeah, me too. She's the one who like got me like fully set on knitting the Tonight top. I was kind of all over the place with that, and then when I watched her video and watched her talk about the Tonight top, I was like, all those reasons you said you like that one over all the other ones is the same reasons I would want to make that one. So really like Kendra's content. We have Emily Curtis of Gently Chaotic Knits. She has like just this really lovely bubbly energy that I really like. It is chaotic, as she always says, but I don't mind that. I tend to be a little bit the same way, scatterbrained and all over the place. But she just seems like the nicest person. I have met Emily in person, and she is the nicest person. Yeah, I really, really enjoy Emily's videos. I will say I am currently very jealous of her because her and her husband are like traveling the world, and watching her post videos, I'm like, oh, I want to go there. Like every time she posts a new photo, I'm like, ooh, that's so pretty. Josh, I've added a new place to my wish list. Yes, I really like her stuff. I really like Rebecca Clow of the Crea Bear. Again, another prolific knitter, and she does a lot of her own knitting patterns and stuff. I just like her style, and I don't know, it's just good, cozy, sit and knit, watch type videos. Yeah, really like Rebecca's stuff. I really like Aro Knits and Pearls. She just has like this like style that's so not me, with all the like colors and the pastels and the pinks. I would never knit in any of that, but I love seeing it. It's so pretty. Every time she knits some like sort of like pastel yarn, I'm like, oh, that's gorgeous. I would never wear that, but it's so pretty. So I love watching Aro's content because it's so not me. I love watching it. It just makes me so happy. Like, plus she's just like so friggin' like pretty, and like her outfits. Oh, I just love all of it. And her tattoos. Oh, you have Casey of Young Folk Knits. She does a lot of really fun videos. She's been doing some recently of like style and how to put together like, you know, inspiration stuff from Pinterest and movies, and just like ways to style your knits, which I really like. But all over, she just has a lot of really pretty content. I love watching her videos. They're just, I don't know, that ultimate cozy knitting vibes that I just absolutely love. Plus Casey's just like sweet. I really like her. Another one of my favorites that is new is Marlene from Marlene Knits. I found her because of a flock video. Same with String Things by Mel. Both these people I found like when I was searching Flock Fiber Festival videos. I really love her style, all the neutrals and like simple shapes and stuff. A lot of the stuff that she's made that I've watched are things that I would like to make. So yeah, really enjoying her content. And then we have the OG, the lady I just love and adore so much. She is a crocheter. It is Tony of Teal Yarn Crafts. My favorite video she does is her Yarn Snob reviews. Every time one of those pops up, I'm like, May first, I want to watch it. They're just so good. Tony is one of those like ladies I first started following when I started on Instagram and doing the crocheting stuff. She just like followed her back when she did like her craft show stuff, and like hustling hard to make all those hats and stuff, and I was really inspired by her. She's just like such an amazing woman. I mean, now she makes all these gorgeous crochet patterns, and I don't know, I just love Tony. She's a fabulous human. She was actually one of my years ago they used to do a yarn swap. I forget what it's called. There used to be a huge giant yarn swap every year, and like you would be paired up with somebody you sent to and then somebody who sent to you. And one year Tony sent to me, and oh my goodness, I got the most gorgeous package from her. She was just so sweet and so generous. So yeah, those are all the YouTubers. That was 10, yeah, something like that. And a little bit chatty. It's fine. And then just a couple of other questions. Where I'm located. So I'm sure by now, if you may know, I live in the Pacific Northwest. I live in Western Washington, a little bit north of Seattle. I love it here. It is absolutely stunning. I can't imagine really living anywhere else. We've talked about moving to other places just for a change, or, you know, just because the town we live in was a smaller town at one point, and it's kind of grown quite a bit, and, you know, it's just gotten really busy and crowded feeling. But just the idea of leaving Washington makes me sad. I love it here. It is so freaking gorgeous. As how many kids I have. So I have 3 children. I have Claire, who is 9, Ben, who is 7, and Lincoln, who is 3. He will be 4 soon. They just like grow so freaking fast. I was also asked how we became youth leaders. So my husband and I lead a youth group like based from our church, through our church, but based out of our home. So back in 2019, we had talked to our pastor about possibly leading a youth group, because my husband and I were a part of a youth group growing up, and it was very influential in our lives, and just a good solid base point. You know, it's hard growing up, and like there's just so much coming at you, and like just like a good, I don't like, it sounds corny, but a good safe place to be and hang out and just be around other people your age without pressure of like sports or competing. Like it's like none of that. It's just a hang out, chill type thing. So we talked to him, and the church was like, yeah, let's do this. So we started a youth group. It's very chill, low key. It's very small group. It like greatly varies. Like a lot of weeks we end up having to cancel because kids have a lot of sports and life going on. But yeah, it's really great. We really enjoy leading youth. It's a hard age. Like you're stuck between like being a kid and an adult, and you have a lot of opinions and thoughts, and it's like a great place where we can have a Bible study and they can ask hard and intelligent questions and not be like, how dare you ask such a question? Like we talk about them, like let's get into that. Like there's a lot of stuff in the Bible and the world, and like let's dig into it. Let's have good conversations around these things. So we like having that space for them. And then of course we do fun and games afterwards. We pull out the board games and they act ridiculous. This last week they didn't even play a game. They literally sat and chatted for like the whole time. I was like, you guys want to play a game? They're like, no, we're just hanging. All right. So that's how we got started with the youth group. Last question is how my husband and I met. We actually met at our church a long time ago. It was freshman in high school. Last year of junior high. And then we kind of started dating when we were 17, and then we got married pretty young at the age of 20. But we are going to be next week celebrating our 11th wedding anniversary. So, oh my goodness. It seems like forever ago. When I look at pictures of us, I'm like, we were babies. What were we thinking? But it's been wonderful. We have gone through a lot of rough parts in life together, but I can't imagine doing life with anybody else. He's really amazing, and I like having such a fabulous life partner to do it with. So that's how we met. Church. Still go to the same church we always have. We really like it there. It feels like home. All right, so there's like all these fabulous questions you guys had. There's so many questions. I feel like I was a little bit chatty and rambly, but that's okay, right? Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I can't believe we've hit over 4,000 subscribers. It just blows my mind. So thank you so much, and we will see you in my next video. I hope you have a fabulous day. Bye.